Hey friend, it's Stacy, saying hello with a top 10 favorite. Thanks for listening to episode 6, Shallow Rock Bottom, Finding Your Way Again. Hi, I'm Stacy Holmes, and this is Glordinary, a few moments where we celebrate God's glory and champion the ordinary. I'm glad you're here. Oh, friend, you know what's just the worst? Stupid choices we can't undo, right? Things we've said, missteps taken, hurts inflicted. But you know what's worser than worse? And yes, I totally know that worser's not a word. Watching someone you love make those same mistakes, walking straight for the cliff, completely deaf to all hope of reason. Rock bottom's tough. Hard to experience, even harder to watch. When my oldest daughter was 1, she delighted in nearly any daredevil, death-defying, gray hair-making moment for her mother. She wasn't a sleeper, nor a talker. She used sign language almost exclusively the first 2 years, so that made her exceptionally stealthy. She was a climber, which is proving to come in handy now that she's a rock climber, but I wasn't loving it so much back then. Yes, I'd come around the corner to find my toddler standing on my kitchen counter in her light-up high heels. Oh, Sophia. One of her favorite pastimes would be to climb up onto our kitchen chairs, stand up backwards, hold on to the chair back, and rock. No matter how many times we corrected and explained why she couldn't do this, it just wasn't sticking in her 1-year-old brain. For obvious reasons, she was 1. Sure enough, the day came where I heard the crash as I was prepping lunch at the counter. Ultimately, she was fine. I mean, I would have preferred she not fall, and I definitely would have preferred she not have a mouthful of Cheerios when she fell, and I definitely would have preferred she not land with all her little fingers wrapped underneath the chair back. But all things considered, it was nothing a few tears and some snuggles couldn't fix. That was the last day that Sophia stood up, rocking backward on the kitchen chair. And as silly and small as this example may be, I have focused my prayers for my daughters based on that chair accident. I've prayed, Lord, help my daughters have a shallow rock bottom. Wait, huh? Stace, huh? You want your kids to hit rock bottom? Well, I mean, no. Why would any parent pray for their kid to hit rock bottom or someone else? But quite simply, we all have one. We all must reach a place where finally we're at the end of ourselves at this point of decision. Do we say yes to what we've been doing or yes to a different way? The way, Jesus, and following his ways. It's the point of decision. That's the real rock bottom. But the depth of our rock bottom seems to be unique to each one of us. Some of us seemingly need to fall hard, crashing deep into rock bottom's bedrock, kind of like Wile E. Coyote falling off the cliff with an iron anvil attached to him. That is a deep rock bottom. Some of us learn more easily from ourselves or others, watching for pitfalls and previous errors to prevent a nasty free fall. That's what I like to call a shallow rock bottom. So yes, I pray for a shallow rock bottom. I pray for a quick realization of mistakes and learning opportunities, a quick turning toward the way, truth, and the life. I recognize that for me, well, I'm prone to wander and sidestep whenever I'm questioning or confused, emotional, impatient, hormonal, or, well, probably just needing a snack. And I'm confident that can't be just me. I recently began reading through Genesis again, and I always start with the introductory information and some of those opening commentaries. Now, I have read these oodles and oodles of times, but for some reason, this one stopped me in my tracks on this particular morning. Listen to this insight regarding Genesis. It says this: The people of God are not the product of natural human developments, but are the result of God's sovereign and gracious intrusion into human history. Okay, let me read that one more time. The people of God are not the product of natural human developments, but they're the result of God's sovereign and gracious intrusion into human history. That's from my NIV Study Bible, the Genesis introduction. God's sovereign and gracious intrusion. My eyes lit up and my heart flip-flopped inside of me when I read that. His sovereign and gracious intrusion. Oh God, that you would intrude into my life. Stace, I don't think I want God intruding into my life. Oh, but friend, you do. You actually do. And here's why. You see, whether you've read the Bible or not, you have likely heard parts of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters, and on and on. It sounds familiar, right? You see, shepherds in biblical times and in Middle Eastern cultures, well, they're vastly different than in our image of like an American rancher or the Old West cattle drives. A shepherd or shepherdess back then, in those cultures, they didn't drive their flocks. They led them. They went ahead of the sheep, clearing the path of debris and disease and danger. And whenever one of those precious little fluff balls would start to wander or graze a little too closely to the edge, the shepherd would take his trusty slingshot. Because you see, a shepherd was also an expert marksman or markswoman and was said to be able to split a hair with the flick of their slingshot. That's a human hair, by the way, not like the Easter Bunny hair. That is some ridiculously good aim. So when that sheepy was nearing catastrophe or wandering, the shepherd would take a stone in his slingshot, fling it, and flick the very tip of the sheep's nose. It was just a tiny little flick of the nose, but it was enough to let that sheep know that they were heading for a really bad day, a rock bottom kind of day. And the shepherd would sovereignly and graciously intrude into that sheep's life. Friend, we really aren't that different than a sheep. And when I'm weary and questioning, I'm doubting or struggling, maybe I'm frustrated and feeling oh so indecisive, I long for the sovereign and gracious intrusion of a good shepherd. I pray that for myself, for my daughters, and for you too, my friend. So today, may we take a moment and let's reflect over a lifetime of sovereign and gracious intrusions of a good shepherd, a good God, to know that He is worth being trusted, and you, well, you're worth being led. So here's to a shallow rock bottom for you and for me. Remember, you're not alone in this. I'm praying for you, friend. Have a Glordinary day.